These are directions for using the choir CD-ROM. This CD-ROM is formatted for both PCs and Macs. You all received one from me. This CD-ROM contains MIDI files of choir music to practice with, MP3 files of diction for pieces in languages other than English, and repertoire guides for each piece, containing word-for-word translations, pronunciation guides, song background, links to recordings, and structural analysis. Now, when you insert your disc into your computer, on a Mac, it's going to mount on the desktop and look something like this. With Windows, it will probably open up a window that says, what do you want to do with these files? In that case, open with Windows Explorer. If you don't get a window that comes up, just go to Windows Explorer and look for the CD and then open it up. Now, this is not the kind of CD that you can play in a CD player. You've got to put it in a computer because it has a lot of data on it. All right, let's take a look and see what's on this disk. All right, now you'll see two folders, CC, SPR11, and VE. CC just means college choir. And then you have the semester and the year. So let's take a look what's in these folders. All right, you'll see diction, IPA meaning International Phonetic Alphabet, translations and analysis, that's the repertoire sheets, and practice. All right, let's look at the diction folder. All right, here you're going to find those MP3 files. Now, you can download these to your favorite portable or mobile device, but you can also just double click on them and use whatever media player that you prefer. In my case, I use iTunes, so I'm just going to double click on it and we'll see what goes on here.
This is the diction file for El Pambiche Lento. El Pambiche Lento. Qué bueno es bailar.
So you hear what's going on here. You're going to hear the recording, and then what you should do, best practice, is to put your music in front of you, have a pencil ready, and then as you play this, have your media window open so you can pause. You can listen, repeat, write down in your music, and then go on to play other things. There's usually a pause between each phrase so that you can do this. So for example, I would just play it.
This is the diction file for El Pambiche Lento. El Pambiche Lento.
El Pambiche Lento.
Qué bueno es bailar.
Qué bueno es bailar. You see? So that's how we use those diction files. All right. Now, the next thing that you've got are your IPA translation and analysis sheets, or in other words, your repertoire sheets. You'll see these are PDF files, and they're pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff in them. So let's just take a look and see what they might look like. Let's look at this Sanctus right here. All right, so here you'll see the title, the composer name, and then here you'll have the original text. Above it, you'll have the pronunciation guide using International Phonetic Alphabet. And finally, below it, you'll have a word-for-word translation. Now, you can see that the words, the translation is a little bit clunky here. And so below, we have actually a more poetic translation. So, Holy Lord God, full are heaven and earth, glory yours. That's the word-for-word translation, but that's not how we would say it. That's not how we would understand it. Said, Holy, holy Lord God, heaven and earth are full of your glory. Makes a little more sense. So, and then a little bit of background, maybe about the text or what it was written for and so on. If I find recordings online of a live choir doing it, I'll send you links for that. And then here's the analysis. Now for some of you this will be really, really useful because knowing the key, knowing the meter, having an idea of what the structure is like can be helpful because it might, you can look here for repeated materials and so on. For some of you, not so useful. So look at it if you think it's helpful for you. So that is the IPA translation and analysis portion. The next portion that we have are our practice files. And you can see here, as soon as they come up, that mostly what you're looking at for are these MIDI files, MID. Those are the ones that you want to open. And those MIDI files you can play again in a regular media player like iTunes. If I double click on mine, I'm going to open up another program because I use MIDI files in a couple of different places. So for me, I actually would need to click and drag that file over to the iTunes library, which I'll do right now. Click, drag, bring it in, and then here it is. And then if you want to hear it, you can just play it. So you can hear that's all parts together. And that can be helpful, but maybe not as useful as it could be. And this is where we get into some fun. There is a wonderful program available from the web called Sibelius. Now, Sibelius is a music notation program, and in its full version, it's really expensive. It's really good, but it's really expensive. However, their free version, their demo version, lets you do everything that the full version does except for print and save. In other words, it has full functionality. And really, the only thing we need is that it has the ability to play back, which it does. So, I'm going to show you how to use Sibelius from start to finish, so you can see what kind of windows come up and how you might manipulate things. If you want Sibelius, you can just go Sibelius into Google, and then you can go to the website. All right, so first of all, it will bring up this quick start window. And you can do a variety of things, but we're going to go open a MIDI file. And we're going to click OK. And then we're going to go to our disk, open it up, go to practice. Let's take a look at Hanak Pachap. We're going to open it. Now it will bring up this window. Use the defaults. You don't have to worry about checking anything. It should be fine just as it is. Click OK, and it will open the score. Once it opens the score, you'll see music notation. Now, honestly, because these are MIDI files, they're not going to necessarily render all that usefully. They might be helpful to you, but that's not the most important thing that you want to see. For example, you can see that alto, tenor, bass, soprano, they're kind of in wonky order. They don't quite work. But that's not that big a deal. What you want to be able to do is play it back. So the first thing you want to do is just use the playback window. If this window isn't up when you open the program, go to Window, look for Playback, and there it is. All right, but the playback window. And it has controls just like you might think, back to start, all the way to the end, fast forward, and so on. So we're going to play a little, and you hear that click. Now here's one thing that's really cool. See this tempo tool right here? You can speed it up if it's going too slow for you, or you can slow it down. If you've got some music with really fast passages and you're not hearing what you need to hear, you can slow it down. So this is a really cool tool right here. All right, we're going to just stop. And then we're going to show you some other tools here. So my favorite tool for Sibelius is called the Mixer window. You open the window and you go to Mixer. Now look at this. We've got our alto, tenor, bass, soprano. Just look for those windows. You've got a master volume down here. And you see these S and these M's here. S means solo, M means mute. You can do a half mute by a single click, which means it just brings it down halfway, or you can do a total mute by clicking it all the way. You can change what you hear by adjusting the faders. So if you want a lot of soprano and not a lot of everything else, you can move the rest of those faders back. So this is really cool. Let's just demonstrate. Let's just let you hear how this might work. So we're going to go back to the beginning of the score, click play, and we'll get this started. I got a little bit of click track here. Now we're going to hear soprano and click track. Click solo. You still hear the click track, but you also hear just soprano. Very easy to learn your part that way. Let's say you want to hear soprano and alto only. You can mute the tenor and the bass. Cool, huh? All right, let's say I want to hear everything, but I want to hear a lot of bass go back to the beginning here so you can hear how this goes. So we're going to take back the alto tenor and just hear a lot of bass. This is kind of cool because you have some context for the other parts, but you can hear a lot of your own part, and that can be extremely useful. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of how you might use Sibelius when working with your choir CD. And that's it for our tutorial. So use the disc, use it to the best of your ability, and have a great time. Practice, practice, practice.